We will be on our way. Hi, everybody. Matt Mulcahy here. Matt's Memo. We're going to be talking to you today about Syracuse Jazz Fest, returning to downtown Syracuse again, the second year in a row. It's being held downtown. It's expanded. It's bigger than ever. And of course, at the forefront of it all is our friend Frank Malfitano, the founder and executive director of Syracuse Jazz Fest. Frank, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for putting on the festival yet again this year.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. I mean, I don't know how you keep doing it. How many years?
41. This is the 37th festival. We had a little bit of a break,
Sure,
time
yeah,
off,
yeah,
COVID, whatever. But I've been doing it since the early 1980s. And it's always great. I love doing it. I mean, I love it. I mean, I hope that that I'm a good citizen, and I hope that Jazz Fest is really a good brand ambassador for the city and for the community and for the university. And I'm very proud of it, man. I love the fact that we have a free admission policy, so the festival's accessible to everyone. And I love the fact that everybody in the community comes out. It's kind of fun.
Well, let me ask you about the big picture view of Syracuse Jazz Fest being held in downtown Syracuse this time of year, where it's the most beautiful time of year, really, in our city, in our region. What does this mean to the community, to the region, in terms of the people who live here, who get to enjoy something so special, cultural, artistic, inspiring, but also regionally in terms of attracting people to come to the area?
You know, we'll see what happens on the weekend of. The weather forecast is great. The marketing is out there. We've marketed statewide, nationally, regionally, throughout Canada, metropolitan New York. So we've had responses. I had a phone call earlier today, and I'm not exaggerating. Guy called me and said, I've got a couple clients who are flying in. Can you, whatever? And I said, sure. Where are they coming in from? And he said, India.
Really?
So we have people coming in from California and Texas and Florida and New York and Canada and Toronto. So that's all going to generate hotel business. It's all going to generate some economic development for the downtown region. We've put 26 bands in 24 different venues downtown on opening night. So that's obviously going to do some great things for the bars and restaurants and hotels that are serving as club venues. We're turning everything into a nightclub, man. And, we hope it does gangbuster business for the city and really helps economically and becomes an economic engine unto itself.
It's interesting how you're 37 years in, or starting 41 years ago, and it almost feels like every year is an audition for the next. You're so well established. There are some folks who've been to virtually every single one, others who find it new every time, whether it's been downtown or Long Branch or OCC and now back downtown. So, but the way you have it set up this year, from really Wednesday happy hour, dinner time, right through Sunday afternoon, it's a powerful lineup and so many options. I mean, you could plan your full week around these events.
Well, that was the plan. That was our hope, and that was our intention. I mean, we really have literally four festivals in one. On Wednesday night, you have the club events. You have 26 club events in 24 different venues, all over town, all over Armory Square, all over downtown, which is great. And everything's within walking distance, so you can see multiple bands throughout the course of the evening. That runs from 4 to 11. Then for those people that like an intimate outdoor setting, we have Hanover Square on Thursday night, the second night of the festival. And on night 2, we have a wonderful student ensemble called Orange Juice from Syracuse University, followed by Harry Stoika and Acoustic Drive, who are coming in from Vienna, Austria.
Really?
Yeah, an amazing gypsy jazz band, really great.
Yeah.
And then we close it out with 7 jazz legends who call themselves Something Else, and that features James Carter, Randy Brecker, and a whole host, a cast of thousands. So that's really kind of cool because Hanover Square is a contained triangle. There won't be any parking there. It'll all
Right.
be...
Yeah, you got to meander over, find your way over to Hanover Square. Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think it's going. And then we do the Jazzapalooza thing at Clinton Square. We do the big thing with the big names on Friday and Saturday night. And then on Sunday, we're up on campus at Hendricks Chapel and on the Quad. And we're doing a wonderful gospel closing ceremony for Jazz Fest featuring the Dillard University gospel choir from New Orleans,
That's awesome.
and the Black Celestial Choral Ensemble from Syracuse University. So, and there's a community choir also. So I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of people have asked us to end the festival, not end the festival, but close out the festival.
yeah, wrap it up, yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
With gospel. So I'm glad we're doing that and saying thanks.
Let's talk about the superstar headliners on Friday and Saturday night. Friday night, Herbie Hancock. Saturday night, Gladys night. Two legends, names
Two icons.
that really are likely to draw a lot of people to
We
Clinton
hope so.
Square.
I
you know?
really hope so. I really hope that the square bursts at the seams and we spill out into the streets, and it would be wonderful if that happened. I mean, really, these artists deserve it. They've been around forever. Gladys was just named the Presidential Medal of Freedom winner, and she was also a Kennedy Center honoree last year. She's won 7 Grammys. She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. I mean, the Grammy Hall of Fame. She's incredible. And Herbie has similar credentials. I mean, one of the greatest jazz pianists of all time, true jazz legend, along with Miles and all of his contemporary, Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, Herbie is one of the all-time greats. And he's got an Oscar. He won an Oscar. He's won 14 Grammys. He's another Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. He's an NEA Jazz Master. I mean, these people, if those were medals, they wouldn't be able to walk on stage. They'd be weighted down with all their honors and awards. So we're thrilled that they both accepted our engagement. And that really says a lot about our reputation and about our fans and about our city.
Neither of them played that many dates, probably.
They don't, and neither of them have played the festival. So this is kind of brand new. You were talking about doing something different each year. We need to. I think because we're trying to appeal to visitors coming in from out of town, we're also trying to appeal to residents who come every year or might not come every year because they think, oh, it's the same old thing. I mean, you get some of that poo-pooing going on with the state fair. Are you going this year? I don't know. Yeah. I go every year, but so you need to make it compelling.
Yeah.
You need to make it attractive. You need to make it entertaining, and I think we've done that. We've got a great lineup. We've got a great weather forecast in the 70s, so it's not going to be blistering hot. And I just think we're looking at a great weekend. It could be even a record-setting weekend.
Before we get into the artists a little bit more specifically, how does this all come together? I mean, this takes a substantial budget to attract this level of talent to come here. And you have a pretty wide reach of support this year. Tell me about that. Where did it come from, and what's it take?
Well, this year,
and how do you convince a responsible corporate citizen or government agency that this is worthwhile?
I think one of the things that helps us, Matt, is the fact that we've been around for 4 decades. I think we're a brand, and people know the brand. They know what to expect. The festival always has a great look to it. We really try to raise the bar, not just with programming, but with our overall design and marketing materials. And we do that for a reason. We want to be part of something great. And I think everybody wants to be part of something great. This is the Final Four of Jazz Fests, okay, if you will. This is like going to the championships. This is a big deal. If we were doing this in Central Park in New York City, or if we were doing this in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, this would draw 500,000 people.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that this would rival the crowds that Diana Ross and Simon and Garfunkel drew.
Sure.
It's that big.
Yeah.
I hope it has similar results here. Obviously, we could all use that influx of new visitorship and tourism. But there are people who see that and see the value of that and see the value of a strong downtown, strong urban core. People like National Grid, people like Price Chopper. These are people that have been with us for 25 years. This year, National Grid stepped into the title sponsorship role. Last year, it was Amazon. Amazon's back this year as a stage sponsor. So when you have folks like that, and you have Ryan McMahon, our county executive, and our county legislature supporting you, as they have, for a long time, to the tune of about $3 million now over the course of 19 straight years worth of county funding. And now we have great state support from Assemblyman Al Sturpey in the 127th District. When he first moved here to town from Lyons, I think he and Jimmy Boeheim were neighbors. When Al came here, his first big event was Jazz Fest, and it stayed with him all these years, and he's never forgotten it. Now he's stepped up to the plate, and he's going after money for us in Albany. So the combination of private and public sector grant monies together has made it possible to keep the admission policy free.
It's interesting on two levels, too, that Jazz Fest started, early 80s, and other festivals have come and gone, and this is the one that is still here. That's one thing. And the second thing is that a lot of people probably don't know is that you, by bringing Jazz Fest downtown the first time, created the modern Clinton Square festival setup, and had the administration at the time essentially thinking we need to reconstruct Clinton Square so we can accommodate crowds for Ray Charles or George Benson or Diana Krall or Dave Brubeck, that were literally climbing on the monument for a view. And I think that gets lost sometimes, that people who think, oh, there's Polish Festival this week, there's Taste of Syracuse, there's Irish Festival, that used to happen all the time in modern times. And that just wasn't the case.
No, we really did pioneer the reuse and redevelopment of Clinton Square as a festival site. It used to be used for the Christmas tree lighting, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's still going on. I'm glad all these other wonderful traditions have emerged.
Yeah.
It's gotten very crowded. It's busy. There's something going on every weekend for residents and visitors. So it's a great thing, and I'm very proud of that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. Now let's talk about artists a little bit. I can't help but go to Herbie Hancock first. His career is extremely prolific. It's lasted for 60 years or more, I suppose, through all different kinds of incarnations of music, jazz music. I mean, obviously playing with Miles Davis and the young Ron Carter and Tony Williams and Freddie Hubbard.
VSOP.
Yeah, I mean, that was one period. Live music in New York City clubs where they were creating it, inventing it, And then he has the 70s where he did change with the times, like Miles did, like a Bob Dylan, where you go a little more funk, fusion, jazz, electric. And then come into my lifetime, I remember two things about Herbie Hancock. One, Chameleon, which was covered by Maynard Ferguson's band with the brass, which was ridiculous. Great. And then Rocket. And then, and we saw him at Bailey Hall at Cornell during that period. And then for me personally, and I'll let you talk.
That's nice.
The River.
Oh, wow.
The River.
Yeah.
To win Grammy as best album, not best jazz, not best R&B, but the best album of the year, 2007, the Joni Mitchell Letters, the collaborations with a Tina Turner or a Corinne Bailey, just incredible. Not to mention Wayne Shorter in that R.I.P. So Herbie Hancock coming here is landmark.
Huge.
To me, this is Aretha. This is Wynton. This is Herbie Hancock.
But this is Dizzy Gillespie. This is Sonny
Dizzy
Rollins.
Gillespie,
This
going
is
back-
Dave Brubeck. Yeah,
Sure.
this is as
Yes,
big as
yes,
it gets in the world
yes.
of jazz and in the world of American music.
Yes.
We're preservationists, basically. We're presenters and preservationists of American heritage music. I think it's really important that we expose future audiences, future generations. I know your nephew played at Jazz Fest, and as a student musician, and there's a lot of that happens in this community that people aren't aware of. A lot of young kids have played at the festival. They've returned to the festival.
Well, look at your Wednesday night lineup of artists in residence.
Yes.
That are filled with musicians who grew up here and have made a life playing professionally. And is there anybody on that list who didn't go to Jazz Fest at this point?
No.
There's nobody.
And they've all played at Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
And some of the people that we're honoring this year played at Jazz Fest. Ramsey Lewis, of course, was a great friend of Jazz Fest. We lost him since last year's festival. Joey DeFrancesco, who played last year's festival. Ronnie Cuber, who's one of the great baritone saxophonist of all time. His wife is coming in. Oscar Peterson's wife is coming in from Toronto. Joey DeFrancesco's wife is coming in from Phoenix. There are Donnie McPherson, by the way, I just found out, is coming back to town for this. So I'm really excited about all the people that are coming in. I just heard that Coach Jack is coming in, and I'm thrilled about that because I think she's great. I love what she did this last year for the program.
But bringing in Herbie Hancock as you were starting to explain, I kind of diverted you a little bit.
You did.
But he is an example of this legacy that goes back, American music, as jazz as a foundation.
But as you pointed out, I mean, Herbie's had multiple careers within a career.
Yeah.
He has done the electronic experimental fusion type stuff. He has done things like Chameleon and Cantaloupe Island. And Watermelon Man.
Right,
Let's not forget-
Watermelon
I mean, they're all
Man. Yeah.
singable.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and they're
Yes.
going to wind up on the
Yes.
show. And he's
Yes.
bringing in an all-star. I'm not at liberty to say, but I mean, he's bringing in some.
Wait, who is that liberty to say?
Well,
It's got to be firmed up. You can't get ahead of the commitments.
Right, because
maybe.
you just don't know until next week
Yeah,
who's going to get
sure.
on the plane or who's going
Sure.
to be on the tour bus.
But it's going to be hot.
big names
High end,
will be
yeah.
accompanying him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the collaboration with Joni, who I think is one of the great jazz musicians of all time, but purely one of the greatest musicians of all time. Joni Mitchell is another icon. Their friendship is very real. I like the Mwandishi period. I like the Maiden Voyage period. I mean, I love the VSOP stuff that you've mentioned, all the guys in the band, and Wayne Shorter. Now, Wayne is another giant that we lost this year. Herbie is on that level. When you talk about Joe Zawinul, Weather Report, Chick Corea, we have lost some giants. So I think that puts added emphasis on what we feel is our responsibility and obligation to bring in these greats while they're still with us. And make no mistake, they're not worn out. Herbie Hancock is as vital a jazz musician today as he was 60 years ago. Gladys Knight is as great as she was. Her voice is still a powerhouse. She is a great entertainer, steeped in the American show business tradition. I love that about both of them.
That is really fantastic.
Yeah.
You mentioned Gladys Knight, and that makes me think of, you've had, like we mentioned already, Aretha Franklin, Chaka Khan, Natalie Cole, just off the top of my head in fairly recent years.
Roberta Flack and Dionne Warwick.
Sure,
And,
sure.
yeah, that is part of the fabric of Jazz Fest.
Right, and she fits right in line, no less and maybe more than some on the list.
And people don't realize, Matt, I think, and maybe they don't need to know this, but Aretha started out as a jazz vocalist on Columbia.
Yeah.
So, she did several albums before she discovered her sound. Fortunately, Gladys discovered her sound early, and she's had a magnificent career. And I can't wait to see and hear all of the great hits she's going to bring to the
that
stage.
is incredible. Let's talk about the music that she is likely to perform. L.A. Too much for the man.
Yeah.
That's got to be the end somewhere.
Well,
and she. So what does she?
Leaving on a midnight train to Georgia.
Leaving on the midnight train to Georgia. What
Neither
does
one
she?
of us wants to be the one to say goodbye. It goes on and on with every
Yes.
beat of my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, heard it through the grapevine.
Yes.
Hello, the
Yes.
original.
Yes.
All
Will
right.
anybody not be dancing by the end of her set in Clinton Square?
No, everybody will be dancing, and I think everybody will be singing along. I think we should call the Guinness Book of World Records. It's going to be the world's largest karaoke. Everyone knows these songs. They know every lyric, every line, every word, and it's just going to be a magical moment. It's going to be really special. Thing that really gets me, if I can share this with you, because people ask me, you've done a lot of these, and what is your big takeaway? That night, I'm looking up on our stage. Nowhere else on planet Earth is Herbie Hancock playing. And on Saturday, nowhere else on planet Earth is Gladys Knight playing. We have something the rest of the world doesn't have. That makes me feel special about being a Syracusan, about being a university graduate, about this being my hometown, and what we're able to do. Because the rest of the world takes notice, Matt. When the lineup was announced, friends of mine were working at Birdland in New York at a club, and they said, "Oh my God, Frank, your lineup is buzzing. The club is buzzing." So I like that. I like when we win a national championship in basketball, soccer, and football. I like that. When we win the national championship in professional basketball, I like that a lot. It makes me feel proud, and I want people to feel proud of Jazz Fest. And that night, we got something the whole world doesn't have, just us. That's pretty special.
That is, and we always focus on headliners first, but my experience with Jazz Fest has been, first of all, you have Spyro Gyra and Tower Power coming.
Which would headline anywhere
Which we
else.
haven't mentioned yet.
And they'll headline anywhere else.
They'll headline anywhere else, exactly. But then you have, I mean, I am superficial in my knowledge about this world. You know everybody, you know everything, and you always bring somebody that I don't know that I end up addicted to, that I listen. The Gregory Porter comes to mind as is the most wonderful singer that I've heard in 20 years that I didn't know anything about till he came here. And now I can't help but listen to his rich voice and as he travels the world, and I follow him on Instagram and all those things, you know.
He's great.
So, I mean, and you mentioned Thursday night, for example, the acoustic gypsy group Stoiko, right? That seems to me like one of those, I didn't know who they were, but if I go down there Thursday night, I won't.
Don't miss it.
Right.
Do not miss it. Do not miss Thursday night at Hanover Square. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And don't miss, if you think there are opening acts, this is not the case at
Right.
Jazz Fest, right?
Right.
And we are introducing some people this year. First of all, there's a group opening on Friday night. This is really, Matt, if somebody asked me about what is Jazz Fest, it's a triple bill concert.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
concert.
Yeah.
We're not a food festival.
Yeah.
No rides, no bouncy houses, and nothing against those things. That's not what we're about.
Right.
We're about music. There will be food and beverages there if you need it, but we're surrounded by great bars and restaurants. So it's a complete experience, right? And you're going to go and you're going to see 3 separate concerts in one night. But the bands all work together seamlessly, and that's the magic of what we do programmatically, I think. Friday night, we open up with a great group called Postmodern Jukebox. 18 people on stage, dancing, costumes, the whole,
Really? Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God, it'll be
yeah.
amazing. And then we've got a band out of New Orleans that you just don't want to miss. They're a street band, young people, men and women, washboard, tuba, trombone, clarinet, cornet. This is it's called Tuba Skinny, and I'll tell you, watch out.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, tuba skinny.
Big fun,
Yeah.
fun. Traditional jazz,
And
right
then-
from
and
New
they,
Orleans.
and they once they get people up, then Spiral Gyra
Then
sneaks in
Spiral
there.
Gyra, then Gladys Knight. Hello?
Yeah.
You know what? That's the kind of thing. So we go from Postmodern Jukebox on Friday to Tower of Power, one of the great, all-time great horn bands in the world. And everybody knows their hits. When you hear the name, you might not identify it with it, but, Still a Young Man, What Is Hip, Hard Way to Go. These have all gotten major airplay, and when you hear them, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
Yeah.
And then we wind up with Herbie Hancock. Not too bad.
Not too bad. And I would be remiss if we didn't walk back to Wednesday night a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, you were mentioning
in
that.
detail that, Wednesday night is going to be the night where you don't have enough hours in the evening
Right.
to catch all the performers that are going to be scattered throughout downtown, which is by design, obviously.
Well, this is what's exceptional about the Wednesday night now. We did that last year when we rebuilt the new model to
Yeah.
bring it back downtown. We had opening night, club night. Every club was packed.
Yeah.
We had 18 clubs. This year we got 26, okay? So the interest from downtown businesses, bars, clubs, and restaurants has increased. More musicians want to play. We had so many requests from musicians that want to play, and we didn't have enough slots for them, unfortunately. So listen, here's the deal. These are the very best of the best. They're the best from our region. They're the best from Syracuse. They've been entertaining us for 40, 30, 50 years, 60 years in some cases. These are all treasures. And now the national acts that are coming in to play the clubs, they're all ex-Syracusans who have moved on to greater acclaim at the national, international level. People like Joyce D. Camillo, Nancy Kelly, Marissa Mulder is coming back. We're so excited. And Joe Magnarelli and Eric Alexander and Tom Brigandy are coming back. So, we've got 3 or 4 national acts working at the club level this year, but they all have ties to Syracuse.
Right.
And then everybody else from Syracuse, listen, all of these folks deserve to be on the big outdoor stage.
Right.
We just don't have room.
Right.
But I think for the first time, I want to say, for the first time in 41 years, we've always tried to include Syracuse-based resident artists, right? But this year, I think we finally integrated them in a way that gives them the proper recognition and respect and marketing emphasis that they deserve. We've got great players here, and that makes me happy because people come in from out of town and they see what a great
And
scene
that
we've
that
got.
Wednesday evening starts what, 4:30,
4
5 o'clock. Yeah,
4
yeah,
o'clock.
right. And then goes to 10, 11 o'clock at
11.
night, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So you can bar hop, restaurant hop, club hop, however you want to describe it.
And you should.
Right, right, and catch some of this one, catch some of that one.
Right,
Yeah.
they're all playing 2-hour sets.
Right.
Right? So the sets are like they're staggered. 4 to 6, 5 to 7, 6 to 8, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 8 to 10. So, go catch a set and then leave and go catch another set and do it all night long. I
Yeah.
mean, they deserve it. And you'll be surprised at how great the music we put out as a city is. It's
yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised. I think that somebody who maybe's not seen it before will be
Not
pleasantly-
you.
No,
You're a
I know. I mean,
pro.
I understand the use
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
One would be surprised.
You're an aficionado. One would be surprised, I think.
As we head towards home here, this is clearly from Wednesday to Sunday. If you were, I don't know, say you live in Chicago or Orlando or LA, you could come into town Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, and spend the next 5 days enjoying great music, great restaurants, beautiful weather. This is really, maybe more than it's been in some time, a true week-long regional national attraction and the potential to really bring people to this community, not just to all of us who live here who love it, but could come into town and really get something out of it.
I think we need to do that. I think every city needs to do that. I think what cities have to offer is the reason people visit cities.
Yes,
So if
yes.
you've got a world-class sporting team or program,
Yeah.
you've got world-class music or festivals, and we have so many attributes in the area, as you point out all the time, you and Megan. I mean, this is a wonderful area to live, and it's a wonderful area to visit. But we have to give people a compelling reason to visit. So
Yeah, sure.
what Jazz Fest does, Matt, is I think creates magnetism that draws the particles in.
Mm-hmm.
We've got real beauty here, and we've got wonderful facilities here. But if you don't focus on the content and what you put inside those facilities or outdoors, you can't draw people here.
Right, right.
People need that extra something, and hopefully Jazz Fest is that.
When it comes to, I know you have a Sunday jazz brunch event, gospel, but I'm thinking Saturday night, late Saturday night. Gladys Knight's finishing. She's finishing her second encore. Describe for me what that feels like, what you anticipate that feeling like from your point of view, but also for the, 20,000 people that are sitting out there in Clinton Square Saturday night.
Well, it's almost euphoria. You see a lot of smiles. You see a wonderful vibe. You see everybody in the community. If you go to a classic rock show, and again, I don't want people to take this wrong. If you go to a classic rock show, you see one type of audience member. You go to
Sure.
a country show, you see one type of audience member.
Yeah.
You come to Jazz Fest, you see everybody in town.
Yeah.
You see everybody. The entire fabric of our community comes out.
Mm-hmm.
People who wouldn't ordinarily get together. And you know what? They all get along, and they've all got a smile on their face, and they all bring a great vibe and a great attitude. They show our artists a ton of respect. They make me proud to be from Syracuse, and I'm proud to make them happy. They're happy. And remember, Matt, as I've said before, I'm in the memory business.
Yeah. And there'll be more memories made this weekend. Frank, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
Jazz Fest, it's going to be a great week. So thanks very much, and thanks for listening to our Matt's Mellow podcast, talking with Frank Malfitano from Syracuse Jazz Fest. Have a great day, everybody.
Join us, everybody.